to another tutorial. In previous video you learned about how to display the post on a React application using the WordPress REST API. So these are all my WordPress posts that are being displayed, and we also learned about how to go to individual posts with this post ID if I want to see the details of the post. Now in this video we need to learn about how to authenticate, which means how to use authentication to log in a WordPress user on a React application. About how to go ahead and authenticate using JWT, which is JSON Web Token in Node. However, in this video all we're going to do is just use a plugin which is called JWT Authentication for WP API. It's a WordPress plugin. So we're going to use that. I've already installed it, so if you haven't already, you can install it on your WordPress project in the dashboard by going on to plugin and add new, and I'll just go ahead and activate this. Now once you go ahead and install and activate this plugin, there are some settings you need to do before this starts working. So if you go to view details and if you follow the instructions, it tells you that you need to do a few things. The first thing you need to do is basically go to your htaccess file and add these lines. Okay, so if I go to my htaccess file, this is my WordPress project, and if I go to my htaccess file, I have this rewrite engine on, and this is my WordPress htaccess settings. So I don't need to add this one. All I need to do is just add these two lines right here just beneath this. Okay, so I added this here, and then there's one more line which is this one you need to add here. So I'm going to add that, and then I can get rid of all of the space. So these are the three things that you added in the .htaccess file. Then save it, close it. Next thing it talks about is that you need to define this into your WP config file. Okay, so this is my WP config file which is already open. I'm going to go over here, and this basically wants you to set up a top secret key, a JWT Auth secret key. You can put the secret of your choice, however you can generate it like this also. So by going on to this URL, you can choose and pick any of these. So I'll pick up this one and I'll just paste it over here. Okay, so this is my top secret key. Then it tells you you also need to go ahead and switch on your course, enable support for course. So for that you just need to add one more line, and that's all you have to do, guys, for this plugin to work. Okay, so once that is done, once you've done the setting in htaccess and WP config, then what you need to do is you go ahead and check what are the endpoints that are available for authentication. So you can see that these are the endpoints available. So you have this endpoint available wherein all you have to do is just send the username and password, and in return it'll give you the token. And next time if you make any protected route requests, for example, there's a create post request. If you want to make a create post request, you need to pass in the authentication token in the headers. Okay, so it tells you that somewhere here you can see you need to pass in the bearer token, so bearer then space then token. So we'll do all of that. So let's quickly begin then. So we will start from where we left. In case if you haven't been following along, this is your first video. If you haven't been following along, then you can just go into React with WordPress, and you can check out this repository right here, which is login with JWT plugin, WordPress plugin, which is this one. You can just click on this and you can see the plugin. Okay, sorry, you can see the repo. So let's just close it. So I'm going to go back to my React with WordPress project. So earlier I had this home, single post and all of that. All we have to do now is create a component for login. So I'm going to go ahead and create a component, and I'll name it as login.js, and I'll just import React from React, and let's create a class component. Say login extends react.component render return, and then just export it, export login, sorry, export default login, and then this will be available at the login route. So just put div for now, login. I'll go to my app.js. Currently I'm using the reach router, so I'll create another route for login. So this will be login, and the path will be /login. Okay, and then of course I need to add a link for this into my navbar. There's one right here. So I'm just going to copy this one, just paste it here, and I'll say this login, and this will be /login. So now if I go back to my project, if I click on login, sure enough you can see I'm on a login page. That's login component, and of course I need the navbar here as well, so I'll just say navbar. I'll just import it, and brilliant, we have this navbar here. Okay, great. Now inside of this there are going to be a few things we need to initialize in the state. So we'll define constructor on top, and then super. Soon all of this constructor, defining constructor, super with props in order to declare state will all go away in future. So because this is unnecessary thing that you need to define a super and props, all of that, just to define state. But for now, until that comes, we need to follow this. Okay, so there are a few things we need. We need username for our login form. We need password for the user. We need user nice name, so that when we go ahead and go onto the dashboard, we show his name when the user is redirected to the dashboard. And then we need the user email. Okay, and then we need logged in. It's set to false first, and then we also need loading. So if the request is being made, until unless request is complete, the loading will be true, and once it's complete it will be false, and initially it will be false. And error, if any, we'll put the error here. Okay, great. Next thing is that we need to go ahead and create the form for that, so that user can fill in his details like the username and the password. So what we're going to do is over here we'll create a form. Okay, and there will not be any actions. There will be an event on submit event. So we'll create a function, this dot on form submit, and let's just add this function here on top, and this will be an arrow function. This will deal with the submission of the form, and there will be event.prevent default. And inside of this form we'll put a label. Okay, we'll put a label, and we'll give it a class name of form group. Okay, and then we'll say username input type is equal to text, and since we're going to be adding many attributes, let's break them into multi-lines so it's easier to read, it's more readable. So class name will be form control. We're using Bootstrap. Form control, and then name will be username. Value will be, let's pull out username from top. So const username is equal to this dot state. So we're using object destructuring to pull out username from top. Okay, username, and we need to put an on change event because we're going to submit the form with JavaScript and not by default. So this dot will create a function handle on change, and we'll put this function on top. It will be a arrow function which will take an event. Okay, and the job of this particular function would be to just go ahead and do a this dot set state, and that's going to do event dot target dot name is equal to, it's going to be colon event dot target dot value. So what this will happen is that what this is going to do is basically, let me just explain that to you in a moment. Okay, what this is going to do is whatever the name of the input is, it'll put that value here, and name, for example, here in this case username, and the value will be whatever the value the user has entered. So username is what we've set as initialized state, so we'll take that. Similarly, when we are going to create another input field which will be for password, so let's put a BR tag over here, and I'm just going to copy the whole thing, and we'll say password, and this is going to be the input field as well. We will change the name as password and type will be password. Okay, and yep, this will also have an event of handle on change. So now when the user enters information here in this input field, then event.target.name will become password, because that's what the name is, and password value will be equal to whatever value he enters there. Okay, and now since we've got all of that, we also need to have a submit button for the user to log in. So we'll add a BR tag, and then I'm going to add a button, and that will be login, and we'll give it a class name of btn primary, and let's give it some margin, and type will be equal to submit. Okay, great. Let's have a look. Okay, we've got that. Of course, it doesn't look that beautiful because you need to take care of the CSS on that. So let's just add some CSS. So just say it's style. I know we don't write inline style, we shouldn't, but just for demonstration purposes I'm doing that. Okay, so let's just give it a margin left of 20 pixels, I would say. Yeah, in fact it's really better. Okay, great, awesome. All right, so we've got that. So you can see, but what's happening is this is password, type is password, name is password. Why is it typing both? So why it's typing both? Okay, I think I put value as username. I need to put password over here. That's what happens when you do copy paste. It happens with us. Okay, what just happened? Okay, I need to pull password from the state. Okay, great. Okay, username, password, great. Okay, now I need to handle the form submission, guys. Okay, so we have already defined an on submit method over here. Okay, so this is where we will take care of everything in the form submit. So the first thing we're going to do is basically so what we'll need is basically we'll need our site URL. So site URL is equal to, so our WordPress URL is this. When you are using your live site, then probably your URL will be different, your domain will be different, probably it'll be imransayed.com or something, so that you'll put it over here. Okay, let's get rid of this. Now we need to also create a login data. So in the login data we need to pass username. So we have username inside of this dot state dot username. Okay, and similarly we have got the password, because that's what we need to send. This dot state dot that's what we need to send in the body of the request that we make to the REST API endpoint. Okay, so we've got that. Next is we need to set the loading to true. This dot set state, and we'll say loading to true. Okay, and once the loading is set to true, we can do a callback function here, so that we can make a Axios request. Okay, we can do a callback function here, so arrow function, and here is where I will import Axios from Axios, and we'll make a request Axios dot post. So we need to make a post request, and then we'll use backtick because we need to use some variables. And first thing, I'm going to put site URL, and then I need to put the URL that this plugin asks us to do. So it wants us to use, let's see, this URL right here. So it's going to ask for username. You can see ask for username, password, and returns a token to use in the future request for API if authentication is correct and error of authentication fails. So I'll say this, and then in the body, which will be the second parameter, I will pass the login data. Okay, and so it'll be post request, and then I will get a promise. So dot then response, and then catch if any errors. So here I'll just do console.log res.data, catch if there are any errors. So if there were errors, I will say error, and just console.log error.response.data. So let's try this. Inspect element. Let's say I put the correct one, it's a root, and then I put my password right here and hit login. Let's see what happens. Awesome, guys, brilliant, amazing. So you can see we've got the token, we've got the username, user email, user nice name, all of that information, don't we? Great, awesome. So all I have to do is just put that into local storage, because that's the best place I can think of where I can put this information. So I'll put that in local storage. Okay, so right here what we can do is first we're going to check if the token is not undefined. So I'm going to say if undefined find not res.data.token. Okay, so if this is not undefined, then first thing you do is you go ahead and do a set state. Set the value of loading to false, which means the loading is done, and you're gonna put, okay, in fact we should take care of this down at the bottom, and this should be if it is undefined, which means if we didn't get the token, then we need to handle that as well, right? So we'll do set state, we'll put the error message if we got any, so that will be error data dot message. Okay, and then we also need to set the loading to false, because that means the request is already complete. Okay, so we do a set state there, and then we should just return in case if we haven't got the token, it's undefined. If it is, then this code will execute further, and then we set the loading to false, and we can also put the token also if you want to. token is equal to res.data.token. Okay, let's break this into multiple lines because it's going to be a lot more data that we'll be placing here. What we need to do is we need to set the user nice name. User name nice name will be res.data.user nice name, right? And similarly, user email will be res.data.user email. Okay, so you've got that, and we need to set the logged in to true. Logged in to true. So what we're going to do is as soon as the logged in becomes true, we're going to redirect the user to the dashboard. Okay, so next thing we also need to go ahead and set this into local storage. So we can say local storage, which is basically a web API. It's a storage API for web. So we're going to use local storage dot set item. We're going to set a token for this user. Let's say data.token. Okay, and then we're going to set the user name also, so that when he goes on the dashboard, we can display his name. And we can say user data user dot nice name. Nice name. Actually, it's not be data, it will be res.data. Okay, brilliant. I hope this works. Okay, are we handling any errors? No, we are not at the moment. We're just console logging those errors. So if we get any error, then we also need to take care of that. So what we can do is, it's simple. We can just do this dot set state. We can set the error to error dot response dot data, and we can set the loading to false here. That's pretty much it, I guess. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and just open up the developer tool, React developer tool, and just say root, and let's say the password and hit enter, and let's see what happens. This will be login component. So you can see you've got the token, loading is false, logged in is true, password is okay. You can see my password, but that's okay. I mean, it's my local setup. And we've got the token as well. We've got username, and now if I go on to the where would I find it? Application, local storage. You can see you've got the token set up. Username is undefined, so I think it couldn't get the username. So we need to set this up correctly. User res.data.nice name. Let me see. Let me console log to see what I'm getting in the username for the username. So res.data. Let's try that one more time. And we also need to store the ID also. So user ID. I guess. We'll check it out. So this is going to be the username password. Let's see what we get. Okay. Oh, okay. It's underscore. Okay. User underscore nice name. Do we have the ID for the user? No, we don't. We just have the token. Res.data. Okay, no problem. So let's not set up the ID then. So that's going to be user.data.nice name was that one. I think it was user nice name if I was not wrong. Okay, let's just check one more time. Root admin. Let's see what we get here. Okay, it was user underscore nice name. Yep, that's correct. There's .data user underscore nice name and user underscore email. Okay, now if we check, and I'm going to go to my login component, root. So you can now see that we've got token, we've got email, we've got nice name, username, all of that information. Awesome, great. So all we have to do now is just basically redirect the user to the dashboard. So what we will do, guys, that over here where we have this return statement, I'm just going to grab all of this entire return statement from here till here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to check a condition. Okay, so the condition will be if the user is logged in. So remember, we are setting the logged in value to true once the user is logged in, right? So if you check over here, we are setting the logged in to true. So we're just pulling out the logged in property from the state. Okay, and you're going to check if the user is logged in, or if the local storage dot get item token, which means the local storage has the token. Okay, if either of this is true, then go ahead and redirect the user. So the reach router has something called redirect. So it's got a redirect component, and it allows us to redirect the user to any particular route. Okay, so before we go ahead and redirect, we also need to create a dashboard component. Okay, and here we can just put the else, and if not, then just render this login component, otherwise redirect the user to the dashboard. So let's just quickly create a dashboard component. So component dashboard.js import react from react class dashboard extends react dot component render return, and let's say that this is dashboard, and just export it, export default dashboard. Let's close dashboard, and in app.js needs to provide a route for that. So I'll say dashboard, and I need to put a path for that. Okay, so the path will be like dashboard, and then we can put like colon and the username like this. Okay, and now over here in the redirect component, which is provided by reach router, I can use backtick. I can say dashboard, and then I can put a username so that I can display his username once he goes on to that particular component. Okay, so I have the username over here, and then it also needs to put no throw so that you don't get any error here. Okay, so that's that, and let's try. Awesome. So you can see it's already redirected him to dashboard. So because it's already checking that the logged in value is true and the local storage has this item and all of that. So in dashboard, we just need to add some few more things, like just put this nav bar right here. So at least we can see it's dashboard. Right. I guess we have some error. No, we don't. So we redirected to dashboard. Okay, let's get rid of this for now. Okay, it's showing up. Great, awesome. But we would need the username, so we will have to put user name over here. Okay, let's go back to dashboard. Okay, so inside of the dashboard, we would need to get the all of this information like the username, etc. Okay, so let's see how we can get that. So the problem is that username is becoming empty because when the component is being re-rendered, then it's not getting any value inside of this. So we need to get that value from the username that we are setting over here, right? So what we're going to do is we'll create a constant and we'll say user, and we'll check if the user nice name has any value inside of this or not. So first we'll put user nice name. So we'll check if user nice name has a value. If it has, then keep it equal to nice name. If it isn't, then get the value from local storage dot get item username. Okay, and then we can just pass this user over here. So now it's going to redirect to, so let's say username was root, so it'll be to dashboard user. Let's see if that happens. Brilliant, it's happening now. Great. So again, if I go to login, it doesn't work that way, right? Of course, we need to get rid of this login when it's not available, but I think we can check that in the next video. Okay, but it is getting redirected. And then we can also go ahead and get the username from the local storage inside of our dashboard. So I can just say const username. We can get that from the props also, but up to you how you want to get it. And just display over here saying I think it'll be h1, h2 tag will be good. So we'll say this username and say welcome username. Awesome, you can see that's a username. Okay, another way is by getting by prop. So this dot props dot username will also get me that. You can see that, right? Why? Because inside of our app.js, when we defined this route, we had put username as the ID. Okay, great. So brilliant, guys. I hope you did like this video. If you did, please give a thumbs up. Do subscribe to my channel and do follow me on Twitter as well as on the GitHub. Okay, so my Twitter handle is Imran H. Sayed. Okay, and on the GitHub you can follow me. This is also Imran H. Sayed. Okay, and you can also find this repository here, which is called React with WordPress. So it's pretty self-explanatory. Okay, guys, keep me motivated, and I will see you in the next video.